and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Noobs to Pros. Today we'll be talking about a couple of Cromwell games that I played while grinding for the IS-6. First of which was an Assault game. I particularly do not like Assault on a lot of maps just because the team that's defending generally has the advantage of determining where and how they're going to engage the enemy, and if they're smart enough, they will, in theory, almost always win higher number of games than the guys who are doing the assaulting. So I'm in my Cromwell with, again, my friend Warrior, who's in his fellow Cromwell. And we are just parked here trying to decide what we are going to do next. We're trying to see the split of how it's going. Warrior decides to head up towards the northern flank. I decide to, stay here, kind of like see how things are going to develop, and then hopefully exploit an opening to my advantage. So a couple of things that you need to know about the Cromwell is that Cromwell is probably the best tank to learn how to play a medium. And the reason why I say that is that higher, as you go higher and higher and get more advanced, mediums, you'll realize that mediums have no armor and cannot take a beating. So Cromwell is the perfect sort of like mix of high mobility, DPM, and good all-round stats to teach you how to play a medium fairly well. That's the medium that I sort of like took and learned how to play mediums on. Now that I've seen the split, Warrior wants me to kind of like push north with him, and I kind of like oblige. Over here, we're just trying to figure out if we can get shots into to this scout. We try our best, but the Cromwell gun sometimes misbehaves at range. I finally put one in to secure the kill, even though that was non-intentional. Now we are trying to see, the tanks that are progressing towards us. Now what I'm doing right now is keeping the enemy within my radio range, but not within my view range, because if they can spot me, I'll take too much damage to kind of justify this exchange. The best thing you want to do with the Cromwell is stay at a distance and pummel away at the enemies. I see a couple of mediums move, a couple of tanks moving up, trying to make something happen, flank our enemies, and I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can from a distance where I know I can perhaps control the engagement. Again, if you have any questions about the mods I use, please let me know. I can always post a link or make a video. I'll tell you what mods I'm using. Currently I'm using Melty's math mod, and it seems to be working well for now. Right now I'm kind of like trying to figure out where the enemy team is and what needs to be done. And so we know there's a couple of tanks on this flank. I'm just trying to get a general idea of where they all are. We spot a Tiger 2 in the distance, an AMX M445, and an SU-1244. I tell Warrior that now's the time to kind of like make our move. So we are gonna start by flanking the tanks that are in the ditch by going left. I tell Warrior to kind of like put shots into them while I go take out. First of all, we're gonna take out this 3601H that's around this corner, and he doesn't see it coming at all. But the troll armor on this tank just trolls me. Obviously, I'm trying to sort of like put his engine on fire, but it seems to be not working for me. Warrior decides to go in, head for the SU-1244 and the M445. I try to spot where the Tiger 2 is, try to keep him engaged and busy. Now here, since I'm driving the Cromwell, one thing you should realize is that I cannot take, Tiger 2 head on. Not only because he's a tier 8 tank, I would not even take a KV-1S head on. So what I'm doing is I'm flanking wide as I can, in order to sort of like distract him. And hopefully that will give us the opportunity to kind of like hopefully that will give us the opportunity to take him out. So I finally spot the tiger too. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna just go down, just put a couple of shots into him. So like tell him, you know what, there's one more tank here that if you want to. I put one shot into him, he fires, and I'm gonna keep on firing into his side. Warrior moves in, tries to distract him. I put one more into him so to distract him. I see where his gun's pointing, and Warrior takes him out in the meantime. All right. So SU-152 apparently took an offense to getting dinged by Warrior, and he apparently team kills him. And Warrior kind of like thanks him for the repair bill, you know, always in good spirits. So now I'm gonna try and figure out where the rest of the tanks is. Now this is before the current rework. I think this is before the current rework of this map. So, and this was kind of like played before 8.10. So I'm trying to figure out where the low is, or the low bay, however you want to say it. Last known location I can like try to spot out where he is. I don't see him up here, so you know I kind of like assume if he's not up here, you know sometimes camo in this game you know plays tricks, so I kind of like go as far as I can to sort of make sure that he's not there. Then I turn around and go down, and you know as I'm speeding into the distance, I see Yak Panther 2 and a low. So I know Yak Panther 2 is AFK because you know if he wasn't, he would have moved. You know, seeing me coming. Now I'm gonna just you know put shots into the low, make sure that you know I do damage to him, and you know the low is trying his best to kind of like take me out. But you should remember like the heavier tanks and the less mobile tanks have a really hard time, especially when they're caught in the open like this, to kind of like do anything about you know you. So I keep pummeling shots into him. Low sees an opportunity to take out the the E25 on our team, or at least put one shot into him. I keep just my distance, and then I sort of like, you know, I'm done with taking him out. So I take one more shot, and that's the end of that. And I take out the Yak Panther for good measure. So overall, this was a really good game in the Cromwell. You know, speed and mobility, and especially late game is the key when you can relocate so fast, flank enemies, you know, and take them out as fast as this. Now it's always very hard for the enemy to respond, especially heavies if they get caught in the open by a bunch of mediums. So I'm gonna go and try and see if I can get one shot in the last enemy, but you know that was the end of that. So that was the first game. Second game is gonna be on Fjords. I actually like this map for a medium tank just because there's a lot of avenues to kind of like use flank enemies and stuff like that. Over here, I'm again teamed up with Warrior. We're generally gonna do the usual medium tank stuff. We're gonna go in the field, you know, try to figure out what to do from there. The only problem when you go into the field is you should always watch out for enemy mediums. If they're fast, there's a couple of rocks on the enemy side that they can easily hide behind and make your life journey quite, you know, painful. So I'm gonna take the lead and get to my spot as quickly as I can. You know, hopefully catch some enemies, some of the faster enemies who are trying to get into position before me. And you know, I turn. At this point, one mistake I'm making is I should be turning my turret to the left. I'm kind of like not so sure whether there's anybody here or not. This was the game before I had 6th Sense in this tank, so I'm kind of like unsure whether you know I was spotted or not. So over here, I'm gonna just crest this carefully so as to not expose most of my tank. You know, I'm just gonna sit here. You know I'm quick enough to have caught anybody who's getting here. And so I finally see, you know, my first opportunity to put some pressure on this tank. And this is where, he's making a mistake. I have the better angle on him because I'm showing very, very, I'm not showing that much of my tank. And, he just sat there and took shots after shots. What he should have done, he should have just backed off into the building and disengaged. Just, there's no harm in retreating and going to a better location. I might, one thing people realize, that instead of YOLOing and getting your tank killed instantaneously, it's better just to keep your gun in the game. You might do 100 more damage, but that might be all the difference in late game. Like today, I lost a game. The enemy tortoise killed our team. If I had put one shot into him, he would have died. In hindsight, that's what you know, but it's not something that you can predict. So now we know that the northern flank is kind of like wide open, and nobody went there. I'm trying to take out this ARLV from a distance, and finally I do. And now we see that the enemies have pushed from the northern flank down towards our base, and so me and Warrior sort of like re-engage this force going north. So first are we going to pick off the targets that are towards the corners. Never just jump into the center of a melee with the medium tanks. Always pick off the stragglers first. In our case, that's the Hellcat. I'm not really that concerned about taking a shot from the T-3485, and we take on, we take out the Hellcat, but the pesky KV-1S is staring in our distance, and at this point, I know that the KV-1S, we have their attention. They're turning around and trying to come towards us. Warrior, unfortunately, gets taken out early. So I used the speed of the Cromwell to relocate. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up the middle and towards our base. And from there, I'm going to start moving backwards towards them. So I'm going to flank them through our base instead of just going head on. And as you can see, the KV-1Ss start pushing up into the field, kind of like trying to take out the threats on their flank. I don't know whether that was a conscious decision on their part. They're not that good players, to be really honest, looking at their stats. But it was the right thing to do. Given the circumstances, I would have done the same. So over here, I see a TIE 58. The TIE 58, cannot out-DPM a Cromwell. Of course, I take a lot of damage, from him in the meantime. But, it had to be done. Somebody had to go up and take him out. So I take out the cover in the middle. Always take out the cover, please, in the middle, because it will cost somebody a game one of these days. And then better than that, and actually just over here, if I start pummeling away at this TD in the distance, I take him out quite easily. The Wolverine is not that big. It doesn't have the health pool to kind of like do anything about it. So over here now, since I've taken out the enemies that were flanking the weaker ones first, now I'm going to go back and try to see if I can finish off the KV-1Ss. Over now I'm trying to see if I have an angle on this M8A1. I do. And so from the range, I'm gonna take shots at the KV-1S at range, utilizing the spotting mechanic that's working. And now I'm gonna move onto the last KV-1S. Remember, if there's two of them, it's kind of hard to take them out. If there's one of them, you can journey very easily take out one of them. So over here, I'm trying to get here as fast as I can. And in the end, they didn't really need me. They take care of business quite easily. Now I'm gonna hook from the north and come down and see if I can provide pressure. But before I do that, always remember, towards the late game, there is strength in numbers. So I tell the KV-2 not to just go onto the flank by himself. I am telling him to kind of like wait, wait for the other tanks to kind of regroup, and then we can do whatever you want, you know. Because Nashorn is a very dangerous tank, especially if he has a good camo crew. He can put a lot of hurt into you before, you know, you can do something. And over here, I let the M4 kind of like meet up with us. I'm still waiting to see what's gonna happen. You know, waiting for the Churchill to kind of like come up. But the M4 doesn't listen. He just YOLOs into their spawn by himself. You know, it's okay. You know, I don't. You know, you can tell them what to do, but more often than not, if they don't listen, they don't listen. So the Churchill 7 and the KV2 are sort of like teaming up to go through the field. You know, I'm trying to, you know, bide my time, trying to figure out what the team is trying to do. Now the Nashorn is spotted, and that kind of like makes the decision easier for us. You know, he takes one shot from the KV2, I think, and I try to come over here and put a shot into him. And now, since I know the Nashorn is kind of like expecting me to sort of like just come around the corner and YOLO into him on the left side, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, you know, change directions, go behind him, you know, and catch him on the rear. So the RD hits me, you know, for some reason it doesn't do damage, which is surprising. And so I know now there's only 2 RD left. You know, I can smell the top gun in this tank, and I'm moving towards it. In the end, it sort of like becomes a standard fare. I take up the RD, the other RD gets killed, but you know, it was a nice top gun to have. So anyways, folks, hopefully you enjoyed watching these videos. You know, if you do, please leave a comment or a like. It always helps me, you know, sort of like understand what, you know, you guys like, what you dislike, you know, and sort of like make content accordingly. I try to provide good games and good commentary. I'm not the best player, but certainly have good insight into these games. So I'm trying to continue to do that in the future. Please again rate, subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot, and hopefully I'll see you on the next episode of Noobs to Pros.